So we are going to paint a lighthouse scene today. What we need to do, I had something else painted on my banner, so I had to give it a coat of a darker color to cover up. We're going to do mostly white with a little bit of the blue. Mix that up, and that's still, that might be about right. Okay. Get your paper towel, wipe off your palette knife. We're going to use a roller again. We always use a roller on canvas because canvas has all those little nooks and crannies to get into. And my roller is dark, so you could dirty yours if you wanted to exactly replicate what I've done here. But we're going to just nice firm pressure, and I've got a little pattern because I had some dark on mine. So to avoid having weird roll pattern, then what we're going to do, widen this out for you. Then we'll go across and across. Okay, now that's still looking just a smidge dark to me. So what I'm going to do, while this is all wet, is I'm just going to put out some more white, and I'm going to let the white melt in. And I'm going to put it in a roll so that I get an even roll pattern there. And then work it into my brush, which is my roller. Okay, and I'm going to just work that in every old which way. White on top of that. Blending in anything that I don't like. You know, we're kind of going for a sky kind of a look. Sky, ocean / whatever. I rolled on a coat of light blue, and they didn't have the right light blue that I wanted, so I mixed Ultra Blue Deep and whitewash. Now what you're going to do, this is the back of my business card. I have a bookmark. This is the black and white one that I have. Some of you have that. If you lay the value scale, this will tell you how much paint to put into, how much white and how much blue. If you lay this value scale down and you squint at it, wherever the blue disappears onto the gray is what value it is. And I'm thinking that this is a value 8 right here. It might be a 9 or an 8.5 or something like that. But somewhere into the very lightest. So it's a lot of white with very little of the dark pigment blue. Okay, and that's how you use this. It's a nice reference tool, so when somebody asks how light, you can say, oh, it's a value 8 or a value 4. 1 being the darkest, and if you think about number 10 is the sky, up in the sunshine, and then 1 is the basement, and each step is like walking out into the sunlight and getting lighter and lighter. So, we're going to a value 8 or 8.5 with our white. Then what we're going to do is we're going to mist it with some water. And we've got some white paint mixed onto our sponge, okay? And we're going to put just a few, because this is so light, the light is not contrasting hugely, okay, which is what I wanted. So I put some clouds and things in our sky, not too busy, so twist and smudge a little bit. Bring it down to where, you know, our water hydrangeas would be. I want it spongy, I want it more cloudy. Put in a few clouds if we want. Just I'm sweeping at it with the weight of the sponge. Anytime that you can get a little bit of randomness where it's not you controlling the tool, that's going to allow it to be much more natural, free-flowing. Okay, so we've got some little cloudy sky type stuff going on. And keep it away from our edges. And what we'll do is we'll deepen that. That's just the base for our clouds. We'll deepen that with a little bit more work later on. Sometimes I think as I paint, I think I get lazier and lazier. I don't want to worry about having these lines be very, very straight. And so what I've done is I've just taped with the blue masking tape, and you press it down with your finger really nice. And when you brush on it, brush away from the tape edge. Normally I would pat this on with like a makeup applicator, but I am being very lazy today. But this is going to make it so it's just nice and straight. The reason that you brush away from the edge is you don't want to kick paint underneath it so it bleeds. And you want to be especially careful because this was a mixed color. When you mix a background color, it's always a good idea to take a little film canister, mix a little bit extra, and put it in there so that you don't have to exactly match. Now with all the slip-slappy crap and stuff like that, well, stuff that we're going to have on this, then you're probably okay not matching it exactly because it's looser this way. It's a looser project. Okay, so this is bleached sand. And I won't take my tape off until I'm sure that I have good coverage. Yep. And, you know, staying in the lines is always a good thing. Okay. As I was thinking about this, I don't want this big white building sitting in the middle here, so I'm going to slap just a little bit of antique white in water while it's wet, just to give it some texture and a little bit of something. So you just little X's. This is an oval filbert brush, or an oval glaze brush, sorry. So the lights are based with golden straw, and then you take your oval brush and you just slap right in this middle area, just, you know, pat on some color. So it has a little bit of a brightness to it. Thomas Kincaid painter of light thing going on here. So we're going to shade the bleached sand areas with traditional raw sienna. Pardon me. Because this is a large area, a good tip that I have is to go ahead and underwet, just nicely, not sopping wet, just a little bit, and then kind of wipe it off with your towel, and your hand can lay in it and that won't matter. And that's going to make everything just float much nicer. See how beautiful that is. Okay, let's go right up to the edge, and then you can walk it out a little bit. Okay, now I could underwet this area, but I don't think I'm going to need to. So that was these were based with the charcoal color. And you want to keep them kind of consistent with how far out you've come. Okay, and this is a really big, silly thing that I did. I started at the bottom. It's much easier to start at the top because then you won't run your hand through it. So sometimes I forget that I know these things. And thankfully, every now and again, I remember. Okay, we're also going to shade underneath. Get a little more water in my brush. With black, we're going to shade under on these roofs. When you have a good float in your brush, it's not always necessary to reload, to wash your brush out and then reload everything. You can just reload water, dip your brush in the water, blot it on the paper towel, and then reload some more paint. And then you'll get actually a prettier float, as long as you haven't carried your paint all the way across. Okay, so up here we're going to have to go on both sides of the roof. Canvas really lets you know if you don't have enough water in your brush, because it'll look draggy and yucky. And we'll let that dry before we do the other side, otherwise we cut through it and it makes it ugly float. I also want to shade on both sides of these little roofs. Oops, I'm going to stay in the line. Okay, the other thing we're going to want to do is put a little highlight in the middle. I'm going to pick up a little bit wet white paint, the whitewash paint, and I'm going to put that in the middle here. Okay, kind of strong, almost like a dry brush. Keep it out of your charcoal. And it doesn't matter if it adds a little interest and stuff like that, because little textural interest, because we've got this little stucco-y looking anyway. Use neutral gray. same technique, just wipe a little bit off on your palette. I'm going to use light pressure on this because it's quite a bit lighter than the charcoal. Take it across. And we like those scratchy looks. We want to take it about as wide as the white. Don't want too much of a band separating, so you want to get up there near the edge, but you don't want to go over the edge. Okay, reload my bucket brush. And in the center of those highlights. There we go. And color, neutral gray, or highlight, I'm sorry, on the edge. I think my neutral gray needs to be shook a little bit. Walk this up the middle here to the top. And you can maybe blot it with your fingers. I think I'll repeat just a little bit more in the middle. Oops, keeping it in the lines. Okay, so I want to add some green into this background area. What I'm going to do is I'm taking a very scary color, this holly green, and I'm going to put some water out in my brush. Put just a little bit of that there, and a big, big wad of white, more than that. So it is just a barely tinted hue. I think maybe we'll go into just a hair of our blue. And I mean just a hair. This blue will take over the world. Yeah, so I get a kind of a, I don't know, kind of soft greeny blue. Wet this background area. One thing that wetting the background area does, if you hate it, you can wipe it off right away and you're not stuck with it. So then we're just going to slippy slap a little bit of this motion going on. Okay, I think I can bring it up a notch. A little bit greener. Scaring me just a little bit. Okay. Ooh, okay, do I want more white? I went too far. Just kind of get some movement going on. I'm going to bring this down here, even though I know I'm going to have flowers and things like that that will encompass this. I want them to kind of merge. Okay, now this side's dry, so I don't want that. I want to be able to take this puppy down to its brass bones here. Okay, I'm going right up next to that and have it fade out towards the sky. Okay, get a little bit stronger green down here. I really want to just tickle around. Out. It's time to go up into our sky, staying out of our green area. Pre-wet it. And that, got my blue, I'm going to put some white into it. And maybe a hair, once again, just a little hair of that holly green. And this we want to just kind of move, let's move some color in and out through our sky. Get a little bit darker. Ooh, see how that just goes away with you. But because I can wet it, that takes that right out of the picture. I'll go into my a little bit more white there. Little hair of the green. I'm gonna keep it blue up in the sky. I got too green. That seagull's really gonna show up nicely. Just rubbing some interest in the sky. Now we're gonna go way bluer. Hopefully I don't do what I did the last time, blot it. Drag it up next to the light. Not on my seagull. Okay, drag some over here onto our seagull. That's getting prettier, I think. It's got a much more interesting sky. Oops, keep it off our blood. Tip the seagull's wings with charcoal gray. Just gonna drag them in just a little bit. Blot them. Okay, I brought that one down just a little too far. Okay. We are going to pre-wet our sky with our pre-wetting brush, which is a big oval. You don't want it sopping wet, but you do want it moistened. You could mist this with water. If you go both ways, if you go side to side and then up and down, you get a better overall wetting. Okay, now I'm going to get my smaller oval glaze and I'm going to side load it. So I'm going to side load on here and I'm going to blend and then I'm going to blot it on my paper towel because I don't want a puddly poo mess. Alright, and so then what we want to do is we want to kind of tickle just round and roundy round some clouds in there. These are preliminary clouds, so they're not going to be so, they're going to be soft and bigger, and then as we build the clouds, then they'll get tinier, tighter, and brighter. And we'll work in some of the other colors from our piece onto them. The more round shapes you use, the prettier they'll be. So keep it going in a little round, kind of chop chops. Okay. I'm gonna have to switch palette paper. I'm running out of room quick. And one of these seagulls could be kind of flying behind a cloud. You're going to work these in with your colors that you put out. Okay, so now that we've done that, now we don't want them, got a little breaking action going on. I don't think that's quite what we want. Let's see, my clouds only go to 50 feet and then we stop. No. Okay, this lighthouse is up high, so we can put a couple lower clouds in there. Kind of the breaking point between that soft green that we did and the other. Yeah, that's better. But more, okay, now we're going to load stronger white and we're going to come up into our clouds and we're not going to overblend this. Just reload as you need to. The further away your clouds are, the less strong or bold they're going to be. So like if this one's an in front one, we want this to be really strong. Okay, maybe this one too. Building. And for those of you interested in designing, I'm always designing these on camera. So you always kind of watch me working through the steps that I would take. Okay, a couple more real strong ones. My philosophy behind this is that this is a center of interest, and you want things stronger where there's a center of interest. And then sometimes clouds have little streaks. And so let's streak in some streaks in our sky. I guess it's not the clouds so much as it's the sky. And we're going to start on our base down here. I want to deepen this lower area with a little blue, so we're going to use our Ultra Blue Deep and some white. And a little bit more, kind of a, I've got a little water in my brush, blotting more. And it moves around too much, I don't like that. And I don't want this to be all like liney like this, so I'm going to work this a little bit more. Hello, that wasn't the brush I was using earlier. Here we go. I'm going to pre-wet. That'll keep everybody moving around. You can kind of fluff it in just a little bit. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up our Diox Purple. We're going to fluff in, and we're going to mix our Diox with a little bit of our burnt sienna. It's too purple. We need to tone it down just a little bit, deaden it up a little bit. And this is real washy, and you know that you saw that I had my I had my piece pre-wet. Okay, now I'm going to let it fade out down towards the bottom. So it comes down here, we'll just soften it. Okay, now we'll bring it up here. Get a little water in my brush. Down to this other one. You don't want to leave a bunch of blue or light color in between these. Okay, and now let's go ahead and add some of these marks that'll show that those are outer petals. Okay, get some more paint them out. This is about an equal mix, maybe a little bit more purple than the burnt sienna. You know, you're going to know if you think it's pretty. Lean to the colors that you like, and I don't think you'll be able to go wrong. Okay, now I'm going to fade that out. I think we'll put some fadier ones back here. Fade it out into the blue. Use your finger if you need to. I can tell I'm getting dry, so I'm going to re-wet. That'll fade that out, no problem. Thanks. I have a space for a little bit more. Maybe one more front one here. Okay, get a little bit back here. And I think we need to bring this up our wall here just a little bit. I don't like how this is all being a line. And Okay, next we're going to pick up our wild orchid, sorry. And then that's going to be just a little bit brighter. We need to put a little bit of red violet in there. So wild orchid and red violet, about 50-50 mix, depending on how light you are when you put yours on. And these are just kind of like little blob strokes. I don't want to get it too far into our faded out area. Okay, that darkened thing, so I'm going to go back up and just re-darken that area. And I'm going to go purple plus wild orchid now on these outer sides. Not so much red. Cool them down just a little bit. Let's cover up that charcoal area right there. Okay, a little bit more of the red violet. Cut that edge so it's not so harsh. Remember, we don't want these areas right down there, so to show like that. So we've got to deepen that up. We'll deepen it up with a little bit more burnt sienna than purple. Alright, now we'll go into wild orchid by itself. We'll give it a couple more petally type things. And it's wet, so some of this is just blending as I'm going. And as long as you don't, if you go polka dot, polka dot, polka dot, it's going to look kind of silly. So what we want to do is we want to kind of group our little dots. Alright, now we have white plus our orchid. These are going to be more clustered looking. And maybe just a hint of the red violet in there. And I'm kind of using the fat side, the side of my bristles to make these tinier. I'm not really worried about them being real clustery petal type things. I just want them to be brighter and in a section that makes sense. So towards the upper center of the ball, we're kind of building to an upper highlight here. And remember, it's wet on wet, so if you're dry because you had to go answer the phone or something like that, then you're going to want to re-wet. Or you're going to want to blend and take a little bit more time with your blending. Then on the other hand, you may not like it wet on wet because it's a little bit harder to know what you're going to get. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, our last one is going to be, I'm going to switch to a little bit smaller brush. And I think I'm going to go ahead and dry it, but what I'll do is I'll just talk it to death instead. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and wet the upper area again. Now I've been gone to the post office and taken a bunch of orders and stuff like that out there. So I am back now and everything is dried up here, so I could just put water right on it. If you're not dry, then you need to go ahead and dry it with the blow dryer before you do this. That got a little bit wet. I'm going to use my dirty brush with that color. Oops, still in it. Pick up the Summer Lilac in my little dirty brush here. I'm going to need to get some of this into the sky. Kind of carrying around. Real soft and blendy. Let's bring it out over here on this side. Almost like maybe there's a sunset or something going on we don't really know about. We're not really adding a heap of color here. You gotta creep colors up. You can't have them just be like down here. So I was really happy with how that was looking, but now I'm seeing the sky looked a little bit different and lonely. So I thought, I gotta creep some of that color up in there. And I think we need to bring it onto our lighthouse. Okay, well we're doing that because I just smeared. Alright, so let's think about this. Let's bring, I'm going to rinse my brush and get into just a little bit of, I think the red violet, because it's very sheer, and I think we're just going to, with water, bring that down. I'm going to keep it off the black. A little bit more red violet. And then how about some strong red violet in our black? Who says that couldn't have been a purple color? Yeah, nothing that. I'm going to use flat brush and very controlled skinny float with dioxazine purple. And we're going to make some flower centers. We're going to just pretend like they're there. And they're going to be little V chops. And they need to be clustered and they need to be together. And they can be just fantasy. They don't have to actually, there doesn't even have to be petals there. And if you're like me, then they probably don't have petals there. Okay. And you want to keep those clustered as well. Now I'm going to go a little bit red, violet, and purple for these other ones because it won't be quite as dark. Now I'll show you there's going to be a little secret that we'll do next. Let's put a little red violet in here too. If you have ideal looking little flower clusters, then go ahead and just shade them according to that, but I don't. So I'm just making them up. And I'm almost just doing little press flowers there, little centers. As long as they all look like they would cluster. Okay, that got just a little bit too purple looking for me. Blot it down so I can red it up. Okay, now I need to red these guys up because I purpled them out. Okay, then the next thing we can do is we can load our flat brush into a little bit of white. And where they're dry, you can highlight whatever it is that you think that you should have there. So if you have 3 little flower clusters, then just go ahead and whack on a highlight right there. You've got 4, then give yourself 4. Okay. Okay, so, and then you can blot it a little bit down. And then as you get down to these other flowers, they're going to get fadier. Not as strong, weaker. The fadier is a pattyism. I'm always making those up. Make up my own words as I go along. Okay, and then maybe we need just a couple more pretend little flower clusters. I think so. That. this area. I'm gonna wet the whole darn ding-dang thing. Okay, get out my medium-sized brush. And I want these to fade out a little bit into a blue. So I'm gonna mix blue with the wild orchid. And more, maybe a little bit more wild orchid. Don't want it so blue as I want it more purple. So let's go purple and blue and wild orchid. Yeah, there we go. That's a good color. And I just want to bring that down just into our blue area just a little bit. I think it's going to make it dreamier, prettier. Spread the base of the flowers just a little bit. Okay, so my husband came up with this great idea to put a fence in here. So I'm going to use some bleached sand, underwet my area, and try to make it kind of even here. What a concept. And I don't want this to take over the scene. Okay, but I do want it to be. Okay, what do we have? About the same equal distance. Sure. Okay. And give it some cross. A little bit of that green go on over here. And then let's fluff in a little bit of our dioxazine and our wild orchid, and maybe a little bit of the blue. Dioxazine, wild orchid, and a little bit of the blue. And let's make some little shrubs going down along there. Cover that up right there. Okay. And then lighten it with the wild orchid. Okay, right along there. Okay, pick up white and your wild orchid. Whoops, I had a little blue in my brush. I guess that's going to be a happy accident. And we'll just fade that up in there. And fade it down over here. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, we're going to get back out with our cadmium yellow. So pull you down, pull you back a little bit too, I think. Okay, so I'm going to put some of this on my brush. And let's see. I'm feeling the need for a little bit of yellow in my sky. So we have this big shining light right there. I feel like that should have just a little bit. A little bit of yellow in the sky. And we can't have it just up there, so we're going to bring some yellow down. And I think let's give our fence just a little bit of light coming out either side. And a little bit. Got that right on top of my gray area. Let's get a little bit into our lighthouse as well. Off the gray. Okay. Now to get the yellow down in the flowers over here, then what we're going to do is we're going to just poke in just a little bit with our round brush in that highlighty center since they're dry. Less in the outer areas. And I think these are kind of begging for just a little glazing of yellow as well. I'm thinking just a little. This yellow is nice and sheer, so. Flat shaded up here, so I'm going to get into my burnt sienna. I'm going to round out my corners just a little bit. I didn't like that. That's been sitting there bugging me for a while. I really think we need to build up those clouds just a little bit so that it lends some weight to the sky. Sky must always have weight. Oh, my white's almost gone. Okay, so we've got our clouds. Let's just really just beef those up just a little bit. Little sea strokes. Straight white. Some bigger and some littler. Okay. Kind of scribbling almost. Okay, that really has got a lot more weight to it. And then a little white highlight in the middle of. I pre-wet my upper area around the piece, and I'm going to get white in the blue. Blot my brush, and I want to deepen just around the corners of the piece so that your eye doesn't fall off, which I think mine is doing. Just deepen that. If it's too wet, it'll be runny like that. Okay, deepen over here. And I don't think I got that very wet. It's like antiquing. Antiquing brings your eye into the middle. And maybe a little bit of the green with your white. Some of that just in with the blue up there. Just for interest. And let's come down here. Bottom. Let's just go with a little bit more slip slapped. With the green. Blend it in just a little bit more. Okay, I think I'm done playing. On there. And welcome to our Lighthouse and Hydrangeas.